Hey everybody, Nick at Rogue Panda here. We are going to do some testing of our accessory bar today. So this is our current Blue Ridge Accessory Bar. Your Blue Ridge goes on your handlebars. This goes on top. You put your GPS, your lights, your phone, your Pez dispenser, everything you want on here and ride along. And after about a year of selling these, we unfortunately have started to have some failures. We've told everybody to stop using them while we come up with a new version. And so today we're going to test this and see the minimum impact required to break one of these. And then we're going to test kind of a prototype of a potential new version. And we're hoping the new version is at least 5 or 10 times the strength of the old one. Okay, so here is our impact tester here. We've got 12-foot 2x4 hinged on one end so that we can lift it, and we're going to measure how far we're lifting it, and then we're going to drop it till it impacts on this here. And if you look here, we've got 750 grams of weight. We think the kind of worst case load on the accessory bar is probably about 600. So we're going a little higher than that. Maybe if you have the world's heaviest phone and GPS and light, you might get to 750. And we've got that there. And then this is just all mounted to the 2x4. And then we actually did some testing that we're not going to show you because it didn't work out very well, where these were just rotating on the bar. And so we weren't getting a very good test because there was too much slippage happening on the carbon bar. And so we drilled it and nailed it through. Yeah, it just kind of, that'll just keep our test from being invalidated by the load just slipping around. I feel like there's no way that did anything. That feels so minor. But just in case we can see something. Okay, we'll go to 2. Expecting to start to see it any time now. 4. Yeah, we are seeing just a tiny bit of deformation at 4. Okay, so we've achieved success or failure. Success through failure. 4-inch drop, we have a little bit of deformation here, which means eventually it's going to fail. It just started to elongate. So at this point, repeated hits of this height are going to cause a failure. One thing to note is that this is a pretty harsh test because we're just trying to establish a baseline that we can compare things to. We're not trying to actually simulate riding conditions because we're trying to break things much faster. So an actual, like a 4-inch drop, even on a fully rigid bike, you've got some tire compliance, you might even have some fork compliance. You've got things that are breaking up that load. It's not as harsh as this drop is. Yeah, this is what we came here for. We've got a baseline, and now we're gonna see, kind of just for fun, how many times it takes before it actually breaks from here, and then we can use this data for the new accessory bar or really any future product that we make, because we know these are almost good enough. We know that after being on the market for a year they started to fail, so anything we make that can take 5-6 times this height, that can get to 20-30 inch drop and withstand it, is going to be strong enough for anything that you put it through already. Repeated 4-inch drops. Okay, so we've got more failure. We did 10 drops, 4 inches, and that little bit of deformation that we saw has progressed much further, and we now have cracks on both sides of both sides of the accessory bar. So everywhere it could be cracking, we have a crack. Yeah, in retrospect, this is one of those design flaws we could have seen coming, but we have a new version in the works that we're gonna kind of test a prototype of today, and then we'll eventually test the actual fully machined version that should be way stronger. And this, now we'll be able to actually know how much stronger it is. That's our failure right there. It starts at the top where the part's thinnest, and then it works its way down to where the part's thicker, eventually breaking all the way through. So we're back. Our machinist has made us some prototypes of a stronger design. It's great working with a local machinist, makes this a lot easier. So you can see the original versus the new one. It's about 3.5 millimeters taller in this zone here, and it doesn't have anything on the top. So there's not even a threaded hole poking through. There's zero stress risers happening along the top where it's going to be under extension when you're hitting like the bottom of the bump. And the other thing this will do if it works is the current one is it makes the bolts just a tiny bit short for some applications. And so some shim combinations, it becomes a little bit harder to install the harness. This one's going to do the opposite. It's going to be air on the side of a tiny bit too long of bolts. So that's just going to make installation easier. And the Blue Ridge has the threads to handle it. So yeah, got our new guy, and we'll go ahead and break a couple of these, or try to break a couple of these, and hopefully we're all good to go.
Cool. Nothing. Gonna go 15. Still good?
Okay, so we just did a 20-inch drop, so that's 5 times the drop that caused our original bar to have the beginnings of elongation. And we've got no visible change to the bar. So at least 5 times the initial strength. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to drop this 10 times, look at it, 10 more times, look at it, 10 more times. When we get to 30, just for fun, we'll go higher. But, you know, we don't really need to simulate a drop that's higher than that. 20-inch static drop is already way harsher than anything you're going to do on a bike. Okay. Hi, this is kind of loud. Come here. No dog's ears were harmed in the making of this video. She's in the other room. All right, gonna do 10 more, but it looks really good. Yeah, absolutely nothing. Okay, it's about 40. Still pretty good. I'm not really seeing anything. Okay. I mean, that's 10 times the single break failure of the original. We're at 10 times that with no failure. That's pretty good. Okay, well this is 24. So these two together is 5 feet. So that's 60 inches. So we'll do that. Okay, it's 60. Okay, well, something's happening at 60. I think we've actually reached the point where this bar itself is twisting in here, which we weren't able to do. We never even got the other accessory bar to that point. I think we're good. All good news. That happened how we expected. It was very hard to break this. You never know. Sometimes you design something and you think it's going to be strong and you put it out there and it doesn't hold up. So it's good to actually have that confirmation before we go ahead and make a bunch of these, because we're going to replace every accessory bar that has been bought with the new version. So now I'm going to give my machinist the go ahead. We're going to go ahead and get started on that. Yeah, we did 5 times that initial braking strength, 30 times that initial braking hit. It was 4 inches on the original bar. We went all the way up to 20 and did that 30 times. Absolutely no damage, no stretch, no change to the new one. And then we went up to 30, and then we went up to 60 inches. And at 60 inches, we actually got the carbon rod to spin inside of the clamp that attaches it to the 2x4. On the old accessory bar, we never got anywhere close to that. And I'm not going to worry about it at this point. We could try to make a harsher test by cementing that in somehow or drilling another hole to like keep it from rotating. But at this point, we know that this just is not going to break under actual cycling conditions, no matter what kind of terrain you're on. So feel pretty good about it, and we're going to go forward with production.